This is VSiN By The Books on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We begin the Monday edition of VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross here, Circus Sports, fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Look at our closer. Jensen, we always like this. Whenever we see the curtains, we know you're at parts unknown. You're gallivanting all over these United States of ours. Tell the people where you're coming to us from today.
Yeah, well, actually, I couldn't do the curtain setup because it's 5 a.m. Here in Oxford, Mississippi. So I was doing the Tennessee Ole Miss series finale for SEC Network yesterday, and boy, what an incredible setup here. The folks in Oxford were just so accommodating at the ballpark, and so now I have just a little makeshift painting set up behind me, some pictures for you. And we'll get the light of day coming in here. But, buddy, I got to tell you, it was such a weird, way to broadcast yesterday, knowing that, unless you were diehard fans of Tennessee, Ole Miss, or college baseball, everyone, and I mean everyone, even us in the commercial breaks, we got the iPad on in the side of the booth following what was one of the historic final rounds of the Masters. So Saturday and Sunday delivered. The back nine, as we said, the Masters doesn't start until the back nine, and damn, it didn't start till then. But boy, what a finish we had!
Absolutely incredible. Really, I don't think I've ever stepped foot in Mississippi. Like I always tried, I want to get to every state at some point to bucket list that. Had you been to Mississippi before? What's the food like down there? Is it barbecue? What are you having down there?
Yeah, we'll need a Matt Humans a full debrief on where to go here if I come back for the regionals. But when you think about getting in, it's the hard part is getting in, and I guess technically it's not hard. You fly into Memphis or you fly into Tupelo, and it's about an hour drive from there. Pretty easy. The food is fantastic. The people are awesome. I mean, Southern comfort, left and right. You're out of the boonies a little bit on the drive here, and then you come into this just quaint Southern town, which if you talk to the locals here, Dave, the Lane Kiffin effect, and I can't wait to jump into college football here in the coming weeks and spring practice, spring games, that sort of thing. It has been a transformation. So to answer your question, the last time I was here was my sophomore year in college at Vanderbilt when we played Ole Miss. And ironically, Coach Mike Bianco, who is still here, it's his 25th year here at Ole Miss. Yes, he was the head coach and I played. So I hate to date myself here on a Monday, but a lot's changed from my previous visit there, here, I should say, to what I saw here these last couple of days.
You are a true professional, man. You're up bright and early there in Mississippi. The show must go on. We love it. And great stuff. And talking about the menu, Rory McIlroy is going to have to come up with a menu now for next year at Augusta. We'll get to all that. We do have a great show lined up here. Cody Decker is going to join us in hour number 1 to break down Major League Baseball because jokingly, Jensen, I was going to say, of course, the lead story today is the Reds are back to 500. We'll get to our baseball talk from the weekend. We're really going to dive into the NFL draft because it's coming up here in a couple short weeks. And really, the books do not like posting the draft numbers, as we've talked about here traditionally through the years. But they're going to put those numbers up. You want to be ready for those. We'll take a look today at the teams at 1 and 2, Tennessee and Cleveland, and what their draft needs are, who they might be looking at, what the numbers are showing you. So you're going to be home for the next couple of weeks here at VSiN By The Books to as good a draft analysis as we can give you to get you ready for that next marquee date on the sporting calendar. And the great, and I do mean the King of Connecticut, Will Hill is going to join us to begin hour number 3 as well. So much to get to, but without further ado, it is time for our highlights and headlines.
Help your bottom line with today's highlights and headlines.
Well, it wasn't easy, but I guess when you accomplish something that only 6 people in the history of the game had done, it shouldn't be easy. But Rory McIlroy does finally get that career Grand Slam, wins Augusta National for the very first time. You look at the 5 men that have won the Grand Slam before Rory. Took him 1 try, took him 3 tries. 11th try for Rory McIlroy to finally get it. And Jensen, he said it after the round 2. All we saw pour out after the first playoff hole when he took down Justin Rose with that birdie on the first playoff hole, he said it was not joy. It was relief. He said, then the joy came after. I think everybody that watched it, you felt it. This was, a human drama being played out there for everybody to watch. What did you make of it? Because for a while, I didn't know if he was going to get across that finish line.
Yeah, unfortunately, when they had the actual encore presentation here back on at the hotel when I got back, we were in production meetings and getting set for the game. And so I'm thrilled that I was able to go back and see the start because, Dave, what a dichotomy from the absolute blitzkrieg that he had in Saturday's round and coming out with that historic 5 threes in a row to where the start was, and even the initial tee shot right on one. Oh. You could tell the nerves were there. You could tell the adrenaline was pumping. And so the start, such a difference of how he had to kind of hold his mud there a little bit and be able to pull himself up. And so I think just the dynamic of the round. And I'll even go as far as looking where it was last night, or at least 2 nights before on Saturday, the difference in how he presented himself post-round versus DeChambeau, where, we hear about the story of Bryson, going on a walk around the neighborhood for the house that he's renting. He goes and putts with a neighbor for an hour. For a guy that was so loose, you could not have had 2 farther ends of the spectrum as where these guys' emotions were. So I think that's a huge part of the round yesterday, is watching that everyone had it. It wasn't just Rory. Bryson had it a little bit. And, Justin Rose being able, as the veteran, to kind of stay in there. Patrick Reed vaulting up and really making a run for it. But I think the thing I take away most is that Rory, for a guy that has been through it, he talked about it being more like a U.S. Open in his mind. I know we'll have sound from him coming up. But I think you could tell the pressure, and you could tell that the wheels were grinding a lot on every single thing, every step he took. I'll bet he feels like he expended an entire tournament's worth of energy just in that round yesterday, including getting it across the line in the playoff hole.
I don't know that I've ever seen anything quite like that round. We'll get through it as the show goes on today, but you're right, Jensen. It was exhausting, and I'm sure it was mentally taxing, and it was. Rory talked about it, but he did talk about it. Finally getting that accomplishment, the career Grand Slam, by winning at Augusta National for the first time. Let's hear from the new Masters champion.
I've carried that burden since August 2014. It's been 11 years. It's nearly 11 years. I'm not just about winning my next major, but the career Grand Slam, trying to join a group of 5 players to do it. Watching a lot of my peers get green jackets in the process. It's been difficult, and I've tried to approach this tournament with the most positive attitude each and every time that I've shown up, and I think just the sort of cumulative experience that I've gained coming back here each and every year, I feel like I get a little more comfortable with the shots needed.
Gets it done. And again, it was not easy by any stretch. He lost the lead. Remember, he opened up the day in the final round with a 2-shot lead over Bryson DeChambeau. He loses that lead by the 3rd tee. It's gone. Double on 1. He makes par on 2. Bryson goes par, and he makes a birdie on 2. So that 2-shot lead is now a 1-shot deficit as he stays in the 3rd hole. Then we have a flip where he makes birdie, Bryson makes bogey. He has the lead again. And then by the time he gets to the back 9, he's got a 4-shot lead. He's increased that lead that was initially 2 all the way to 4, and you go, oh, man, there is no drama. It's the back 9 at Augusta. Anything can happen. Hits one of the worst shots I think we'll ever see on 13 of Rays Creek, where he hits a wedge from 88 yards somehow into the creek. I still, that's the shock and awe of that moment. You go, what did I just see? What is happening? And then all of a sudden, he stands up there when he's on 15, and he momentarily loses the lead to Justin Rose. So he lost the lead twice to 2 different players in the same round. Jensen, I don't think I've ever seen in a moment like this with the gravity. And by the way, if you had tickets on Rory, if you had a 6-1, if you had a 14-1 after day 2, or you're at one point, he's standing on the 18th tee after he regains the lead against Justin Rose. You know what the live number was? -2,500 on Rory. going to 18, gents. You could have 14-1 on Justin Rose, who was in the clubhouse at 11 under, and Rory McIlroy sitting there at 12 under coming to 18, and then inexplicably puts it in the bunker and makes a bogey on 18. It was as wild a roller coaster ride from a betting perspective, certainly in our world, but from a human athlete perspective, Jensen, I got to be honest. I thought, oh my goodness, we're going to the playoff. He was about $1.40 betting favorite going into the playoff once he gagged it on 18. You got to give him his props for somehow in that moment being able to flip that switch and then somehow, some way make a birdie after Justin Rose, great approach on 18, right? As athletes, to be able to flip it, man, did you think he could do it? I mean, obviously we know he's the talent to do it, but mentally I was worried, is he all the way gone?
I thought the birdie by Rose on 18, where he just started walking it in, taking his hat off, and knowing that, Rory's going to be able to hear that. You definitely know that something big has happened, and what is the roller coaster like in Rory's mind at that point? Conversely, there may not be a better professional as far as handling that moment and that loss than Justin Rose. Mile high salute to him. I would have probably had to jump in live on Justin Rose at 14-1, just for the palpitations of, if you've got a double digit ticket on Rory, you've got to find a way to get some profit, because you've seen this movie so many times. What a finish, what a tournament, one of the masters for the ages.
It might have been one of the best ones. We'll talk more about that. Plus, there was another big event that went on down south this weekend, down there at UFC 314 in Miami. We'll see how you made out on those wagers. That is next here on VSiN By The Books.
VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back, VSiN By The Books, on this Monday edition. Dave Ross here, Circus Sports. Jensen Lewis in the great state of Mississippi on this Monday morning. Then what are you doing? You're getting out of there this afternoon and back to Cleveland and for tomorrow's show?
Yeah, we'll head to Memphis after the show, catch a bird home, and back in the home studio. So I got to tell you, it was 80 here yesterday, and just I mean, as perfect a conditions you could have. Very similar, and I sent you and Brandon the text on Saturday. My gate was right next to, ironically, the gate to Augusta, and I said, "Well, boys, do I just blow it off, and do I just head down there and see it?" I would have been in for a treat, but yeah, we'll be back to business as usual tomorrow morning.
I mean, if there was, I know you get it. You're a pro. You got a job to do, so you made the right call. But could you imagine if you took the quote-unquote wrong flight and you ended up at Augusta National for what we saw yesterday? Well, how did I get here? Amazing. Let's continue with our highlights and headlines. And we did have some down there in Miami. A great card Saturday night. It was a fantastic sporting day, obviously, with everything going on at Augusta in round 3. And then down there in Miami, in South Beach for this one. And we maybe saw, again, greatness in Rory McIlroy. And greatness in Alexander Volkanovski. He reclaims the featherweight championship here with a 5-round hard-fought decision victory over Diego Lopez. And what was really interesting about this main event, Jensen, is the numbers. We talked about them a lot last week as we were watching these numbers from Monday through Friday fluctuate in real time. And at one point we thought we might get a flip of favorites and Lopez could go to the favorite spot. The late money came in on Volk. And he closed as high as $1.60. And I was like, wow. I did take a nibble of Lopez at plus $1.30, and that did not get home in the main event. But still, I felt like that was still the value play to be on. But tip my cap to Volkanovski. Like, I had it, objectively, as somebody that bet on Lopez, I had it 3-2 for Volk. And I know some people out there were debating whether or not the judges got it right. I didn't have any issue at all with the way it came down in the main event. The damage might have been on the younger Diego Lopez. But certainly the volume was on Alexander Volkanovski's side. Now, he did get hurt, and he got cut open on both eyes here. And scoring is, and again, I'd rather be on the side of the dog if I hit the judges. We talked about it before in many different cards. And it was almost that same thing. Like, if you ended up weighing the bigger price point of $1.60, you had to sweat out that decision because you don't know if judges are going to flip the criteria. It's supposed to be by damage. And for that respect, you can make a case for Lopez, but I wouldn't make too big of one. I thought Volkanovski pushed through as the veteran, and we did see history here because normally you don't see champions now over the age of 35 beating a fighter that's younger than 35, but we saw it with Alexander the Great.
Yeah, and again, just looking at where some of the numbers closed here. So Volkanovski closed upwards of $1.75 in some places. And, you think about where our narrative was coming into the week. Did we think we'd have a flip of favorites? Did we think that line would get a bit shorter? Interested to see where people ended up having tickets there. You mentioned $1.60. So, again, when it comes down to where the card was on the decision, 49, 46, 49, 46, 48, 47. So, yeah, you weren't home at all in your mind with where that card, at least those points could have been. I think the other one that was real intriguing was Paddy Pimblett. And again, we really looked at how the contrasting styles, it maybe from a schematic standpoint, but certainly not from an intent standpoint. We felt from second number one, as soon as that fight got underway, Michael Chandler was going to try and do everything to get this thing done in round one, if not early stages of round two. So Paddy Pimblett, again, stepping up, doing what he does, the knockout there. Again, when we looked at it early in the week to where it was right before we got to the fight, I think spot on from where the handicap was.
Yeah, that was one of those where all week I kept going, man, am I finally going to fade Paddy the Batty? And I'm glad I didn't. I ended up on that side, laid the $1.45, took a sprinkle on the submission. But he never looked for he did a couple times he could have gone for the submission. He beat up Michael Chandler. I mean, physically beat him up. And I do think it's interesting the narratives around Paddy Pimblett. And I do think as much as Volkanovski kind of shined in the main event, it really was Paddy Pimblett's night. This felt like it was his night. It was his coming out party. And he really made a statement against a guy that in the division is highly thought of in Michael Chandler. Whether or not that should be the narrative or not. But it's almost like that stepping stone to a potential title. Now, Paddy found out, and the UFC does a great job of this, of right after the fight, and he's backstage, and these fighters are fighting for these performance bonuses. And you get $50,000 extra for performance of the night, knockout of the night, that sort of thing. So let's hear in real time from Paddy Pimblett when he was made aware that he was the winner of one of those bonuses.
Have I got a performance bonus?
You're going to be 50k.
Best I'd get a performance bonus as well. Lad, you're looking like Scarface there, yeah, I love it, lad. Hey, 6 suit that, you already know. 6 suit though. Well, it's the baby's birthday on Thursday, lad, know what I mean? So, it's another nice little bit of money to spend on the babies for the first birthday. I had to get a performance bonus though, didn't I? Couldn't not give me a performance bonus there.
I mean... Hey, there's so much to break down in that 30-second soundbite. The fact that he's ecstatic about getting the bonus, sees Yair Rodriguez, who, by the way, looked fantastic against Patricio Pitbull in his fight, and goes, "You're looking like Scarface," goes over and gives him a big hug, and you can see that Yair, they react to this guy back there in the locker room, as you see. I love the behind-the-scenes look at him, and he's drinking a Coke after his win, and then he's going to spend it on the babies. He's got some babies back home. And everything about this kid right now, it screams green light, go. And I got to say, whatever you thought of Conor, if you're old enough to remember the Conor area and that experience when he came into the UFC, this is really good for business, Jensen. This he's got something there. But then what he really has above all of that we just saw, he can really fight. And at the end of the day, you got to be able to do your job. And he's proving that on the biggest stages like this, in a co-main event with the UFC world watching, and the way the crowd reacts to his fighting style, I think Dana White's really got something here.
David, he's absolutely one of the draws of UFC. A man that I can't believe is so young, so vibrant, one of those people you want to pay money to come see. All right, I love the fact that he had the wherewithal to throw Scarface to Yair right there. And Yair was dapper. He's looking solid, but I had to get you. Sorry.
So good.
Here's the great part about where just this entire weekend was for UFC. You had a great, co-main event. You had the diverse personalities, the diverse fighting styles. And I think that to me is where you kind of get that full menu and you got what you paid for. And that's honestly what you want. You want the entertainment part, but from a stylistic standpoint, you got a little nibble at different ways to be able to go and win and how guys go about their business. But you're right. Paddy Pimblett, the showman, he showed out literally the performance bonus in tow. But yeah, star on the rise and a guy that I think a lot of people will gravitate to just because of that persona as well.
It's amazing. There are books out there, and you can shop around. And for Paddy Pimblett to be champion, lightweight champion, in 2026, I don't know that I would make that wager in 2025 because I think even Paddy, by his own admission, feels like he needs one more fight. You see how the fighting calendar goes. But that's certainly, if you want to look in those futures markets, you can do so. And Jensen, I don't think he's infallible, right? And, the chin is still a little bit up if we're really getting technical in the fighting style, but he says it's made of granite. Like you can't get it. And Chandler could not get there. And then once you figure out like, I can't reach the chin because the length that he has, his guard, if you will, it feels impenetrable. So I think it's going to take a grappler. Like if we're really getting technical on how to beat this kid, it's going to be somebody that can grapple. Now we know he's got pretty darn good wrestling and jiu-jitsu in his own right. But like Michael Chandler, like Jensen, you could see 30 seconds in, something we talked about all week. How is he going to get to this kid? How is the shorter, stockier guy going to be able to get inside that length and that guard that Paddy Pimblett has? It's going to be a real problem for people at 155 pounds. So one to watch, certainly for the rest of this calendar year and then into 2026. But an amazing UFC 314. Again, new champion is the old champion, Alexander Volkanovski at 45. And Paddy Pimblett, remember, that was a 5-round fight. So they're already starting to think about, didn't need all 5 to get it done. They're already putting him in those 5-round, getting that body used to what title fights feel like. And we saw it from Alexander Volkanovski. Right now, we've got a summer special here at VSiN. You become a VSiN Pro subscriber. It's going to cover you for $59 all the way through August 1st. Of course, daily best bets. Jensen always updates his bets there for you as the day goes on. Betting splits, expert analysis, betting systems. They're all there for you. VSiN.com/subscribe. All right, when we come back, yes, it wasn't just golf. It wasn't just fighting on a Saturday night. A lot of baseball that transpired as well. Cody Decker is going to join the program, break down what he saw over the weekend and what we can expect this week. Come on back. It is VSiN by the Books.
VSiN by the Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back. VSiN by the Books. Dave Ross along here with Jensen Lewis. He's down there in Mississippi today. And I do believe, without further ado, on a Monday, because Jensen, you're doing college baseball. I'm glued to the golf and the UFC all weekend. I did not watch a lot of Major League Baseball, but I'm seeing all the stuff going on. I'm like, whoa, what's happening here? What's happening there? To help us break it down, as we like to do each and every Monday, Cody Decker joins us right now here in the Progressive Guest Line. You can give him a follow on X, as I do, at Decker6. Look at the picture of Cody that we use from his playing days with the Padres. He's so, look at that, baby face. And now let's bring him in. Cody Decker, do you look at your picture, Cody, and go, I like my look better with the big beard or with the little beard?
Is this a real question? I'm the best, sexiest version of myself I've ever been. Like that child that used to play baseball for a living was okay. But let's be real clear. Jack Daddy in his nearly 40s can do it all right now. Quite frankly, I can out-hit that child right now if I want to. Somebody send me a contract. I got nothing to do today.
Code man, absolutely love it, dude. Okay, so you're in the Padres garb there, so let's start there with San Diego because they've yet to lose at home. They didn't give up a run to Colorado in the series over the weekend. I think we had talked with you last week, and knowing that the National League West put some respect on that name, not only with the Dodgers and the Padres, but the Giants as well. Let's start with San Diego there. Biggest takeaways from them a couple of weeks so far into the season.
They're nasty. They have one of the best pitching staffs in the game, one of the best offenses in the game. And everybody seemed to completely forget what they are from last season. And I understand why. A.J. Preller was kind of non-A.J. Preller this offseason in that he didn't go out and spend a lot of money. A little bit of an ownership turmoil right now after the passing of Peter Sadler last year. So they didn't go out and spend all the money like they've been doing for the previous years, but they still had such an incredible elite team intact. This team should have been in the World Series last year. Quite frankly, there's no excuse that they should have lost to the Dodgers last October. So, frankly, there is a couple of teams right now that can take down the Dodgers. The San Diego Padres is absolutely one of them. 13-3 right now? They're steamrolling everybody, man.
I got to ask you if there's panic down there in the ATL, because I look up, they lose the series again to Tampa. They are now 3-1 in the betting market, plus $3 to win the NL East. And this team is 4-11. And they're 1-9 on the road. Cody, when do we panic in Atlanta?
Today. Maybe might be a good time to start panicking. It's April. I'm going to tamp the brakes at least a little. But, dude, at the end of the day, you're 4-11 right now, and you can definitely turn this ship around. Make no mistake, the Mets put themselves in a situation last year where they had to play out of their minds from May on, and they were the best team statistically from May on. But unfortunately, that April set them back so far. Braves are doing the exact same thing. They'll get Acuna Jr. back. They're getting Strider back. Wallenbach is showing that he is a stud. But frankly, all the other bats need to wake up. Where is Olsen? Where is Riley? Where are all these guys that they locked up for like the next 10 years? Frankly, I'm worried. The Phillies are nasty. And the Mets, listen, I don't think the Mets are necessarily the best team in this division, but they're at the top right now.
Cody, I think we can comfortably put probably 5 teams, the top 5 teams in baseball right now, all from the National League. We talked Dodgers, we talked Padres. You mentioned the Phillies. I think we can put the Mets up there. I want to throw the Chicago Cubs in as well, because that offense has been humming, and I think that they are going to be here to stay with the impact that Kyle Tucker has brought to them. You hear guys talk about it. He lengthens the lineup, but he takes a lot of pressure off. I got him at 50-1 to lead the league in RBIs this year, and I feel like where he's at in that lineup, and when the weather cooperates in Chicago at Wrigley, he's going to have a lot of opportunities to drive in a lot of runs. Are you taking the rest of the offense seriously from what you've seen from Chicago thus far?
So far, yes. As far as an offense goes, they're the best offense in the National League Central, at least right now. But that, to be fair, that's not saying a ton. The Brewers kind of are a team that just only adds by subtraction. The Reds simply can't get out of their own way, which is driving me nuts because I really believed in this Reds team to start the year. The Pirates are a bunch of 11-year-olds who simply will never be good because their owner will never spend a dollar. And the Cardinals really have lost that Cardinal magic. Frankly, there'd be no excuse for the Cubs not to win this division, even with losing their arm that they lost yesterday for the rest of the season. Offensively, they are better than everyone else in this division, and they got to double-digit wins. Hell, they just won 2 games against the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers right now are, I wouldn't say floundering, considering the fact that they're at 11 wins, but they are showing that it's possible to beat them.
I'm looking at the Cubs now. They are odds on, if you can believe this, to win the Central now at minus $1.20. Mm-hmm. So that terrible start to the year 0-3, now all of a sudden you've got 11 wins. You mentioned the Reds. They did get a sweep over the weekend. They did get back to 500. Their plus 550 is the third betting choice there in the Central. Brew Crew right now also 8-8 at plus 280. The Reds have pitching. We understand that. You got Tito Francona, and Jensen knows all about that as well. Do they need to get more offensively? If you think there's a disconnect there, what is the issue for Cleveland, or Cincinnati, or is it just the back end of the bullpen?
Back end of the bullpen is probably a problem for everybody except for like 4 teams, but honestly, it's this offense. They could use a veteran bat. Can you imagine if they had like a Cody Bellinger in that team? Not somebody like a Justin Turner. I do think Justin Turner's a little bit past his area, but like a Cody Bellinger would have been a perfect guy to add to this Reds team. And frankly, they didn't add anybody like that. And I don't know if they have the means to do so when it comes to the trade deadline. I hope so. It just depends on who's selling. Are the Mariners going to be selling? Is Randy Arozarena going to be available at that time if that comes to fruition? There's going to be a lot of interesting movement when it comes to the trade deadline this year. I just don't know what pieces, or frankly, which teams are going to be sellers. Since the playoffs has expanded, last year we were in a weird market and where we had an outrageous amount of buyers and only 3 sellers?
Yeah, Cody, it's a great point. And again, what we usually see at the deadline, too, is a lot of starting pitching acquisitions for teams looking to get an extra horse. Speaking of that, Hunter Green was someone we targeted, Dave and I did, at the beginning of the season, actually pre-flop in the Cy Young race, all the way down now after a dominant start to his season, right behind Paul Skeens as one of the betting favorites now for the National League Cy Young. Would you rather, with what we saw with Garrett Crochet against his old team, against the White Sox over the weekend, would you rather have Garrett Crochet as the favorite in the American League Cy Young? I think right around plus 230, plus 250 in some places, or Paul Skeens just north of 3-1 for the National League Cy Young Award?
I really like Paul Skeens over there in the National League. I really, really do. I don't know how, based on the dominance that he's shown, I don't know how anyone is going to win this over him, provided he stays healthy. And this has been from Jump Street. I don't know why this guy spent a single day in the minor leagues. If it's because the Pirates aren't going to compete, are the Pirates going to compete in the next 5 years? So that argument is just going ahead and thrown out. Just get that guy out there and let him win all the awards until he's inevitably wearing pinstripes.
I'm looking at a couple of these series that are going to begin today here on a Monday. I just want to get your cursory looks at them. And the one that I did not think would be this intriguing at this stage of the season, it's the Giants after their nice season weekend in the Bronx. Now they go to Philadelphia to take down the boys in the city of brotherly shove. How about the G-Men at 11-4? They're going to have Roop on the mound here against Taijuan Walker against Philadelphia. Like, are we starting to take the Giants a little bit more seriously?
You know, be real clear. The Giants last year were a team that was just on the cusp of the playoffs. And for the last couple of years, not to mention, they're the last team to win that division outside of the Dodgers. And what was it, 2022, when they won like 107 games? And this is a team that does it every single year without a superstar. They haven't had a superstar, quite frankly, since Barry Bonds. They've had good teams. They've had 3 World Series winning teams, but superstar-less teams. They haven't had a single guy to hit over 30 home runs since Barry Bonds in that stadium. So the fact that this team can do it the way they are doing it, I mean, they got Robbie Ray, they got Logan Webb. I thought losing Blake Snell with that third head of that Cy Young triple header that they had would absolutely tear them down. Yet here they are. This young offense is carrying them. Their pitching is getting the job done. And I truly hope that someday they can get their hands on a star. But again, it's also April. How do I know it's April? The Angels are in first place. I can't take any of this seriously.
All right, last one for me, Cody, is specifically on the Angels, too, because we're seeing Mike Trout do Mike Trout things again, leads the league in home runs. The no cell phone policy, they took a little bit of a page from the Masters. No cell phones there in the locker room, which I love. But it feels like Ron Washington has this group focused a bit more, and perhaps just another year of being fed up with futility has helped them. Biggest takeaway for you, last 30 seconds here, with why the Angels have gotten out to a great start.
Ron Washington and Mike Trout, those two names you just mentioned are the reasons why they're doing that. Mike Trout, healthy, is the best player alive, and Ron Washington's one of the best motivators I've ever heard. I heard him give a speech to a bunch of spring training guys, and it was simple as this. Guys, in this game, there are bus drivers and bus passengers. Know your role. And then he walked out the door.
Woo. Old school, best school. Cody, great stuff, man. Appreciate you hopping on the Progressive Guest Line here on a Monday morning, as always.
Appreciate you appreciating me. See you soon.
Give him a follow, everybody. Good follow out there on X at Decker6. Check out the show with he and Michelle Beadle. So much more to get to. When we come back, Jensen, let's start diving in. Number 1 pick is on the board. The draft coming up here in a couple short weeks. Going to start breaking down all those ways to attack the NFL draft. That is next here on VSiN By The Books.
VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back, VSiN By The Books, on this Monday edition. Good conversation, as always, with Cody Decker talking Major League Baseball. Got the Daily Diamond coming up a little bit later on in the program. Again, you're there in Mississippi College World Series, college baseball. How has the experience been, though, so far?
We don't have enough time in this segment of this show to explain what happened on Saturday to try and get this thing on board here. But as far as like an atmosphere period, Dave, the SEC is going to have a boatload of host sites. I mean, Tennessee, you're defending national champion. They're the odds-on favorite right now to repeat as College World Series champions, and for good reason. I'm telling you, Dave, there's some grown men here playing college baseball, and I'm just trying to put myself back in that era of when I played. We had some big people. We had some big humans there when LSU came to town, when Florida was playing. But top to bottom, I mean, you have, I think, 7 or 8 teams in the top 20, including 5 of the top 6 that are SEC teams. And so it just means more in the SEC, and it will, as Lou Finicaro likes to tell us, the SEC, ACC Invitational when we get to Omaha.
Fascinating. Absolutely very cool that you're down there covering that and still getting up early for us here on VSiN By The Books. We do have in 10 short days next Thursday. So we got this week, next week, and then bam, it's the NFL draft. And by the way, some teams have voluntary workouts starting today. I think the Cowboys are starting today. So Jensen, I know people go, man, there's a lull in the sports calendar. Not in the NFL, baby. It's you're revving up for the draft, and then you're already starting to get those workouts starting here in April. Now, all eyes are going to be on Tennessee, obviously, for the number 1 pick in next Thursday's draft. When you look at the odds board, it's going to tell you that this has been decided, that this is Cam Ward, and you got to lay 10,000 that Cam Ward is going to be the first pick overall by the Tennessee Titans. I mean, think about where that market has just ballooned in the last month plus. Because I do think there was a time early on, say February, where people thought, well, maybe it's not, we don't know, maybe it's going to be Abdul Carter, all the needs that Tennessee has. It does feel like a foregone conclusion by the books when we look there at the numbers. Jensen, is there any chance that somehow Cam Ward is not the first place person taken by the Tennessee Titans in next Thursday's draft?
Yeah, if someone comes, a great friend of our program, Diana Rossini, saying that it would take a historic haul for Tennessee to move. And I think that's right now that we understand kind of where their dynamic is and what they want to do. Abdul Carter weeks ago, when you and I initially were looking at, okay, what will Cleveland end up trying to do at 2? Does that make sense for them now? And maybe it still does, but getting Joe Flacco in the fold for the Browns maybe now isolates Travis Hunter at 2. And so unless Cleveland was thinking of, all right, we ourselves want the opportunity to take a Cam Ward, then they would have to jump up that 1 spot. So barring something completely unforeseen, I think it is decided. I think the big intrigue now for Tennessee, Dave, is because there are so many needs there. What do they value with pick 35 in round 2? And are they willing to jump back up into the bottom of that first round to maybe get 2 first-round splashes? And so if you're taking Cam Ward, do you want to be able to augment that immediately with another weapon for him? Or do you try and firm up that defense and try and get someone that's going to be impactful from day one as well? So I think really, as we say, does the draft start at 3 with the New York Giants? Probably. Tennessee's draft probably starts whether it is at 35 there or if they try and jump back up into the first round.
You see all the picks that they do have, and they do have. So you've got the number 1 overall pick. You mentioned 35 in round 2. You don't have any third round picks there, but you've got 2 in the 4th round, 103 and 120. You've got 2 in the 5th round at 141 and 167, and you've got 2 in the 6th round at 178 and 188. And the reason why you want to obviously stockpile potentially as many draft picks as you can get when you look at the needs that this football team has. And obviously quarterback is the one that's going to be the glaring one here for Brian Callahan. And it finally feels like now in your second year as the head coach that you're going to get your guy. They better be right that Cam Ward is their guy because, as you mentioned with Diana Rossini and everybody else out there, to get it, if you've now generated value, more so than just your abstract number 1 pick. But now, if we've decided that Cam Ward is absolutely the first quarterback, by the way, to be the first quarterback, whether it was by Tennessee or anybody else, you'd have to lay 20,000 on that right now. So, the value of Cam Ward has now been which is great for Tennessee, right? That they've said, hey, whether it's us or you, if you want, this is the clear number 1. I think that for whatever reason, there's no Shedeur Sanders. There's no Jackson Dart. There's no other talk of anybody else possibly at the quarterback position to be the first overall pick other than Cam Ward. When you've done that as a GM, if you're in that front office, you still have to pick up the phone and listen, right, if people call?
I would. And again, that also gives you an idea. And I would use it right up to those last couple of minutes as a way to gain not only psyche of what those other GMs are willing to part with, but also kind of where the respect level is for you in this immediacy of the first couple of rounds. Because again, it's not just about the first pick for Tennessee. It's about what can we do to improve the rest of the roster, which they have so many different needs for. And so I absolutely would, Dave. You and I could sit there in that war room and be like, okay, we've known for weeks that it's been Cam Ward. Now, how do we handicap where the other GM's needs are and what they're willing to part with? And if you're able to do that, I think it gives you that extra leg up without having to worry simultaneously, do we trade the pick? Do we not? They know what they're doing. They're taking Cam Ward. Now I think they find what is market value for the rest of their picks, including 35 there in round 2. And if that also translates into jumping up a little bit to be able to get another one of those impactful players.
You look at their futures numbers for next year, and obviously they're suppressed. 5.5 is their win total. It is juiced to the over, which surprises me a little bit. Like the juice at $1.50, I don't know that I'd recommend playing that. They're in a quote-unquote weaker division in the AFC South. That does help when you have 6 games in conference, in division. You and I talk about it all the time. I think if you're ever looking at futures totals this far out for the wins, you do have to look at how many theoretically do you think they can get in the division. To win the division, it's 8-1. My God, can they win the AFC 90-1, be in the Super Bowl? I don't see any pathway for that, Jensen. But you got to be right on Cam Ward, because just go back 2 years ago when Houston was drafting 2 overall. They didn't get the 1 pick. Remember, I was devastated. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do at 2? We should have tanked that last game in the regular season to make sure we get the 1 seed. They didn't. They won that game. Lovie Smith got fired. They go to the 2 spot, and who do they get? C.J. Stroud. Who do they get? They get DeMeco Ryans as the new head coach. What happens? You not only win the division in year 1 with a rookie quarterback at 2, you win the division 2 years in a row. I'm not saying that's Tennessee, but that would be the hope if you're taking a shot at 8-1 and you're taking a shot at the over, is that Cam Ward is everything that C.J. Stroud was 2 years ago for Houston.
Or even more so, I think, for what Jaden Daniels was for Washington, right? If you think as far as where that win total is going to be. So you and I have tried to workshop this for a couple of other teams, particularly the Browns. Can they get 2 wins within the division? Their win total at 4.5. Tennessee at 5.5. Can you foresee them splitting with Jacksonville and Indianapolis and then having 2 shots to try and take down Houston? I mean, if that's where your mind is at, and you're pretty convinced that with a rookie quarterback, they're going to split with Indianapolis and Jacksonville, then you're in a good spot. As far as the AFC South goes, you and I have seen this many, many times. You got to see where those first 4 weeks of the schedule are. How front loaded are those division games before you even touch that total for the Titans?
I couldn't do it. There's no way I'm laying $1.50 to guarantee me that to cash that ticket that they win 6 or more games. I just don't see it. And again, year 2 for Brian Callahan, and he's got to figure out what his identity is as a head coach. So a lot of times in the futures market for me, I'm normally betting on coach, quarterback. And if I don't know what the quarterback's going to look like yet, and the coach going into year 2, Jensen, that might be either an underplay for me at plus money at the under 5.5, but there's no way you're getting me to lay $1.50 to play the over right now at 5.5, right? Do you see it the same way?
Yeah, I agreed. And again, I think that's why it's predicated on, let's see what the Titans' first 4 to 5 weeks are. You think about just survivor plays, right? Rookie quarterbacks not winning in week 1. There's going to be a boatload of people all over fading the Titans the first couple of weeks until we really understand what Cam Ward is capable of.
Well said. Not with my money. No way I'm laying that $1.50 here on Tennessee to in that futures market. Let's get in on the action on the ponies. If you haven't done so already, First Bet's got you covered. You sign up, you're going to get exclusive promotions and bet on hundreds of thrilling horse races every single day right from your phone or your computer. You can visit firstbet.com. That's the number one, stbet.com. Use the promo code VSiN200. Score a 20% rebate on all of your wagers for the first 60 days, up to $200. Do not miss out. Start betting today at firstbet.com. Hour number 2, and later on we'll continue the draft talk with the Cleveland Browns. Come on back. It's VSiN By The Books.